This is number 13. So you have to find all solutions of each equation from 0 to 2 pi. So we're going to do the same thing we did in our class. We're going to just go from 0 to 360. So we're going to write our answers in terms of degrees. Okay, so notice the equation, it almost appears like a quadratic where we have 3 terms. And so I am going to turn it into a quadratic equation by letting y equal sine squared x. And so what you're ending up with is y squared plus 2y minus 3 equals 0. This, I believe, is factorable. We just need to think of the two numbers that multiply to equal -3 and add to equal +2. And those are +3 and -1. So I think that this is the factored form. So remember, when you have your factored form in quadratics, you've got to then set each factor equal to 0 to find the zeros. So what this means is y is equal to -3, y is equal to +1. So go back to this expression this equation right here. If y equals -3, we need to figure out, okay, -3 equals sine squared x. We need to figure out, if we square root both of these sides of the equation, you'd end up with the square root of -3, which is an imaginary number. So even though we found this as part of our answer, I'm not going to continue on and use it. What we are going to do is continue on with the y equals 1. So if y equals 1, then we go back to this original equation and we write 1 equals sine squared x. If we take the square root of both sides of this equation, we would still end up with 1 equals sine x. Go back to your unit circle. Remember that the sine is the y coordinate on the unit circle. So you have to figure out on the unit circle, when is my y coordinate equal to 1? And so if we go right there, it appears as though your y coordinate is equal to 1 at the 90-degree mark. Some of you might be thinking down here, like, do I include this point, the 270? And you actually do, because even though we're solving this equation, when does sine equal +1? Really what we're trying to solve is this equation here. When does sine squared equals +1? Well, if you have a +1, when you square it, you get +1. And right here, if you have a -1, when you square it, you get +1. So this particular equation has two solutions, and I believe that they are 90 and 270 degrees. You can always go into your calculator and check both of these by subbing them in for the x values.